Ed, I fixed my microphone. How do I sound? Okay. I don't have to go like this anymore. So.
Okay, it looks like everybody's here. I'll call to order the committee of the whole to discuss 29849 Lakeland LLC Trex application and the Are You OK program. We'll start off first with the 29849 Lakeland LLC Trex application. Does anybody have any objections to letting, believe Mr. Call is on the line, who is the attorney, and is there anybody else from there that's going to be talking during this part of the meeting or presenting?
Yes, we Sam and Joe Zayed, who are
Okay.
the applicants.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Bogo.
Yeah, what was the address again?
I believe it's 29849 Lakeland Boulevard.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank
Are there
you.
any objections from the committee? If not, I'll let them present their business plan for that property.
Hello, everyone. This is Joe, my brother Sam over here. We purchased this property back in October of this year off an auction, and we plan to bring our concept over there. Our company name is Speedy's Grub Shack. We're in Cuyahoga County right now. We have 6 locations that are open that we're currently operating. I don't know if Matt sent you guys like the photos and pictures of kind of like our concept and what we want to do. And we plan to bring it. This is our first location outside of Cuyahoga and into Lake County. We plan to spend some money on this property, make it look very beautiful, put in a hot food program. We're partnering up with La Plaza Tacos. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of them out in Lakewood. They're a neighbor of mine over there. We're going to put tacos. And so we want to bring the beer and wine in there to kind of get the the full flow of things and be able to have everything for convenience for customers. We have a very good reputation and following online and in the city of Cleveland and Lakewood, so basically Cuyahoga County. And we would like if everyone would be on board to get this this liquor license over here so we can go into it with full force and be able to be a good part of the community and be able to grow over there in Lake County. We want to grow our brand over there. Is there anything else, Sam? That's it. If anybody has any questions for me or about our business or our history or anything like that, you can feel free to ask me.
So let me interrupt real quick just to make sure. This is Matt. Earlier this afternoon, I did send probably 20 documents with plans, pictures, and tax filings from some of their other locations. Has anyone not received those? And if so, I sent them to Scott and Monica Drake. And if you haven't received them, I could try to resend them if you haven't had the opportunity to look at them. Or if you haven't, I can share my screen to show some of those.
I don't have any objection to showing any kind of the plans of what they're doing. I know I got the email. I did not have time to open it up to see what the plans were. So I don't know if there's any difficulty for you to share your screen. Joe, and hold on, Joe and Randy. Joe.
All right. So I did not receive email. Are you guys also going to be selling gas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
That's my only question.
Yeah, we're gonna implement. We have a rewards program where people save money on, and we have a Facebook following or a website, Speedy's Grub Shack. I don't know if you can share some of our photos. It's a breath of fresh air to what's in the area right now. My competition in the area over there. So anybody, if you have questions about how we operate or what we do, feel free to ask. I'm open book.
So I would need the host to enable me to share.
Sandy, can you do that? Are you on? Maria, can you ask that question and your question in the time being?
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I didn't receive anything. I don't know if it was sent to all the council people. But it sounds like an interesting concept. I don't know what to picture. I mean, I would love to see some photos or understand, sort of your concept and your business a little bit. Tell us a little bit about it.
Mr. Council President?
Yeah, you
I
want
think
me to
it'd be
share?
helpful. I think it'd be helpful maybe if we were able to share the two. They did send 2 photographs of other locations, so I think that would give a good idea for
Okay.
council of what the location is going to look like.
And guys, it looks like a speedway. Sorry, this is John jumping in. I'm just online looking at Yelp. All the reviews look good. Photos look good. Looks sort of like a speedway / subway, just from the pictures that I see. But yeah, it looks clean. The website's real nice.
If whoever's hosting this can enable me to share, I have everything pulled up.
I did. You should be able to share now.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
I have a question. Why
Sure. Go ahead, Tom.
Is there going to be sit down eating, or is it getting food to go? What is your agenda there? Will there be outside eating?
Right now with COVID, we're not going to have a sit down. We didn't plan for one, and we kind of just worked with the building that we got there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's across the street from Lubrizol. So in the future, we have a big enough lot, if we see successful business there. I think that I really think the taco concept of La Plaza Tacos is going to do phenomenal over there in the area. My partner Adrian in the taco business, he's doing phenomenal business out in Lakewood. He's opening up a big Mexican supermarket in Amherst, and there's one in Battery Park now. So this will be kind of like the 4th location of it. And I do think in the future that there is room for a sit down on the parking lot. I mean, if we're allowed, but for right now, we just want to kind of get the permit, get going, get it open, and do takeout, because with COVID, no one's really having sit down right now. But we do have plans in the future if it goes well, and hopefully it does. that we do to add a sit down.
The permits that we're requesting to Trex in are just for carryout. And Wickliffe is at quota right now. So in order to have any kind of a, in-store service of alcohol at any point, we would need to get your approval before trying to transfer in a D5 or a D123 for on-premise consumption. But right now, the C1, C2 is just for off-premises consumption. I assume everyone can see the pictures that I'm scrolling through.
Yep.
And start at the top again. If this is on Lorraine Avenue in Cleveland, Lakewood Heights.
And most of these were all similar to the property that we took over. They were garages, like beat down garages, and we converted them. Some of them we built from the ground up, but a few of them, like Lakewood Heights Boulevard and Puritas, St. Clair, they were all repair shop conversions. And Lorraine Avenue was a repair shop conversion. And also, one thing that I want to say while I have everyone's attention, I know somebody said that we do look like a speedway, subway. One thing about us is we're very community oriented. I have contacts in my areas with councilmen and development group members. Especially during this pandemic, our true colors showed. We've helped out countless amount of people with anybody that need food or anybody that need any shopping, grocery shopping. We do giveaways all the time. We do Thanksgiving turkeys. So when we come to this, we don't want to just be one location. We want to grow into multiple locations and grow into the community. We want to be part of a staple. And that's a true fact. And I have references in Cleveland that will tell you the same thing. We want to come help. Yeah, of course, we want to be profitable, but we want to get the right people in there from the neighborhood, employ them and grow, that's my game plan. It's been my game plan since I, kind of took over this family business that we've been in for 30 some years. John Carroll graduate. So, I grew up in this and I just want to take it as far as possible. And I love your city. It's a clean city and I want to invest in it. So
Would anyone like to see more pictures? Or we also sent sample sales tax and cat tax from other locations from 2020. You probably don't want to stare at a screen at that, but I'll make sure that those get forwarded as well.
I can forward everything that you sent to me, Matt, to the rest of council. I just didn't have time to look at it. Just got out of work myself. So I'll forward that on to the rest of them to look at after. But I don't know, does anybody have any other questions or statements to the owners of the property and their attorney?
So that,
Tom,
so
go ahead.
that's a Speedway, petrol fuel company that you're dealing and selling that products from Speedway?
No,
Okay,
I'm Speedy Grub Shack, license and trademark.
okay, that's what I want.
Yeah.
But the fuel that you're selling, you're purchasing your own fuel. then?
Yeah, we purchase fuel off the
So
market.
you're not going with a franchise. Okay, that's all I
It's kind of like it's my own franchise, our own franchise.
understood. The
Okay.
guy across the street, catty corner from me, does the same thing, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Maria, Sherry, I mean.
It looks really nice. I'm anxious to get some tacos back in the city.
We do have our Grub Shack port like food, and actually, this is another thing that I want to bring up. There's another gas station in the city that kind of wants he reached out to sell to me in Wickliffe on Euclid, and if this one goes well and we can get our liquor and get going and get the full, I think we're going to add the Grub Shack. If we do take that one's going to be our Grub Shack food with the fresh made fried chicken and the fresh made sub bread and sandwiches and stuff like that. But I think the tacos are going to be a breath of fresh air, and they're really, I don't know if anyone's ever tried La Plaza tacos. It's amazing.
Jeff, if you don't mind, I'd like to add one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but in the retail gas industry, the margins are exceptionally slim.
Yeah.
Without
Gotta do volume, yeah.
without the beer and wine carryout permit, that can often be the difference between making it or the business going under.
You hit it right on the money. And you know that even though beer and wine, there's not much profit in it. It's just it kind of brings everything full circle. You know, they come in, they get a bag of chip, they get a beer or a 6-pack of beer, and then they see, oh wow, look at this the food program is where the money's at. You know, that's where we want to kind of bring people in and draw attention. So to our food.
Joe?
Yes, sir.
What time are your hours?
Over here, I think that we're going to be 5 a.m. till 11 or 12. You know, it depends on how the area is over here.
Yeah, I live in this area that's in my ward, and I will say there's not a lot of options going to the freeway. So it's nice that you guys have some options, coffee and things like that. And I just welcome the Wickliffe.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're gonna get we bought a fresh bean to cup coffee machine for this location. So every cup of coffee is gonna be fresh. Well, we're not gonna be 24 hours. I don't think it's a 24-hour area. I don't know. It's my first location over here, so we'll see how it is. Hopefully 5 to 11, 5 to 12 does the job and we can make a profit and pay our bills, you know.
Randy?
I have no objections, Council President, of the Trek letting them go ahead and bring a license in with their plan. And if they want to do an sit-down seating, then we'll look at that later on. But to go forward on a liquor license, I see no reason why to hold them up any longer.
Okay.
I agree.
Matt? You're on mute though, bud.
Sorry, my daughter's taking a bath. You know how that goes. Don't want to hear any additional screaming. Did anybody tell you guys about the potential construction that's going to be hitting that area? I mean, I'd hate for you guys to come in and then just all of a sudden be blindsided by it. There's going to be the bridge above or just behind you guys on Route 2 there is scheduled to be replaced. And then Lakeland itself, the city's working on a 2-phase plan to renovate Lakeland Boulevard as well.
When is this gonna happen? When's that scheduled?
Pete, you want to answer that question?
You just hit me with a three-piece, dude.
I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that.
I mean, it's too late now. We're gonna weather the storm, but damn. Sorry for choosing my
No, the bridge is going to be shut down, but it'll be one-way northbound traffic. So
okay.
Everyone's got it. You got to go past your place to get to the north side. Well, not have to, but it'll be one-way northbound for, I talked to their engineer just last week and they told me it was going to be 3 construction seasons, but they would only be shut down, or the bridge would be one way only during the construction season, not during the winter months. I find it hard to believe that it's going to take 3 years to build those 2 bridges. But it'll probably start happening either at the end of this summer or for sure next summer.
Is the Lloyd exit going to be closed or no?
No. Just Warden Road Bridge, northbound only.
Above us, not the bridge.
Yeah, but Warden Road will be northbound only.
Warden Road.
Oh, so they'll come
the street right next to you and your corner.
Go towards Lakeshore.
They'll only go towards Lakeshore then. They won't be going towards Euclid.
Right.
But no one can come. Can they come from Euclid?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That shouldn't. I mean, we'll weather as long as we're over. I mean, we'll figure out a way.
Okay.
As long as we get it done.
Business all our sites.
I mean, we've dealt with constructions. It's part of that brings improvement to the to the infrastructure of the neighborhood. So
you'll have a lot of construction workers stopping for coffee. Thanks, Matt. It was a great suggestion or thought.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else? Any comments or questions on the committee? Does anyone have any objections to Mayor or myself signing that liquor permit Trex application?
No.
Okay.
And Ed, I'll be in tomorrow morning, so I can sign that if you don't mind. Or
Okay, that's
just unless you'll be there before me.
I wasn't, but if you're gonna be there, you can sign it. That's fine. The committee recommends that to go ahead and have mayor sign the application. And thank you guys, and we'll sign that and let you know.
Thank you all.
Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome to
Thanks,
Wickliffe.
guys. Have a good night.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the Are You OK program, Councilman Sekis.
Okay, so in the last couple weeks, a lot of information has been gone over. So I went to North Olmsted and I got all their info, and they told me, when a program like this is in place, it usually it goes through if we have an IT guy at the police department. So I immediately called Chief Weiss and I asked him if I can use Lieutenant Thompson's resources, and he was like, absolutely. So me and Joe went over everything, and he did so much research on this. I really have to commend him on this. So here's kind of what we came up with. So, all right, the Are You OK program. There is also the Ohio Department of Aging has a very similar program called Staying Connected. The state program makes phone calls and to the seniors, and then if they don't answer, it relays the information to either a relative or the police department. And so we looked into the Are You OK program, and we hit some technical hurdles that were troublesome. So here's what we came up with. We can use the state program for the nuts and bolts part of the program, making the calls. If we use our time and effort to sign up the seniors, we can gather the contact info and then sign them up with the state. We can enter next of kin, key holder info, senior cell phone numbers, etc., into the police department CAD system as an alert on the address. So if a notification is made that a call wasn't answered, the police department dispatcher will initiate a call at that address, which will trigger the alert. All of the pertinent info is then available to the dispatcher. So our money may be better spent buying Knox boxes for the seniors that we could provide free of charge to the seniors. If entry needed to be made, the fire department opens the door without damage, and then the police would go in and check out that. So using the state's program for the calls and our existing CAD system to store the contact info lets us run the program with a personal Wickliffe touch, free to the seniors without having to purchase, configure, run, and maintain the call center. Same idea, better execution. We would call it something like the Wickliffe Senior Checkup, thinking of a name right now. But anyways, so here's the deal. In North Olmsted, over 9 years, they've had the Are You OK program, and they have 30,000 residents, and only 50 of them, 50 residents are registered. I feel what the marketing we could do in Wickliffe, we definitely within 5 years should have around 50. But I think in the first year, I would just maybe, we were talking, count for maybe like 20. And that's why I thought I would ask. So $5,000 would be it. There's no call to doing the call or charge for the call center. The only money has to be spent would be to provide them with Knox boxes. Me and Chief Powers talked. They're about $210 a piece, but they would just be a loan. They would have a city stamp on them. This way, if they move or unfortunately, if they're deceased, then they would come back to the city. But all the info and lockbox codes and all the forms and stuff will be confidential with the police department. And then Joe, if we got authority to do this, they could do registration form online where there's like an introductory letter explaining it, a form, or we do hard copies at the police department. So that's kind of it. That's where we're at. We looked into it's a nice thing to offer the seniors and the call center. We don't have to worry. We would just have the info when we are alerted. Because if we were to do the Are You OK program, we would have to do a separate phone line, ongoing calls, a standalone computer for the dispatchers to keep an eye on. So it would just be a ongoing aggravation. So this would be the best solution. And wanted to know council's thoughts if they had any questions. And we're ready to take it on, though. And even if we put 5,000 for Knox boxes and 20 people didn't register, then we would get a gauge next year, you know, what to put in. And, you know, obviously the money would go back into the general fund. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything for me.
I just got a couple quick questions for Maria, though, before Maria starts. Fire Chief Powers, I know that we put in a bunch of Knox boxes in the previous administration. We put in, I don't know, we had put money in there at line item all the time. Do we install a certain amount, X amount of Knox boxes on residents already?
Yeah, we install a lot. It's kind of peaks and valleys because we can reuse them. Sometimes what we had at one point was a waiting list, which was unfortunate. We have a bunch of people that are waiting to get one of these things. So, you know, depending on how much we promote it, it goes in, you know, waves. I imagine a new program like this, we're gonna have a lot of people requested. I think right now on hand, we might have 4 at the fire department. And honestly, I'd probably go through those probably as the spring comes around, unless, you know, unfortunately we have some people pass away. And then we reuse them. So it depends. I think with a big promotion like you're going to do in this plan, you're going to have a push to get them. So I'd be prepared to say, I think the worst thing you could do is possibly have a promotion like this and then say, well, you're on a waiting list. With everyone having a waiting list today, it's just another excuse, I think.
What's the lead time to purchase these, to get them in hand?
Usually about 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
It could obviously go without those. If the police goes to a house and no one answers the door, they don't want to, you know, cause damage to, obviously.
No, and I understand that, Joe. My mom is on that ODA program, and in fact, I got that call Friday morning when she was getting her vaccination. She did not let me know, so they called me to tell me that she wasn't answering her phone. So I had to call her to find out where she was. Fortunately, it was a good result, but you know, they typically call the next of kin. So when would they call the police if they're calling the next of kin already?
So yeah, the next of kin's on the list. If they can't get a hold, then an alert goes to the police department. And when they hit on that address, they also get information as well. So Thompson will have it geared, so they'll have a couple numbers that they could contact as well. Okay. And like type of the car. The registration form's awesome. I got one from North Olmsted that we could personalize, Wickliffe ties, and really make it to our advantage.
Okay, Maria, do you have anything still?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask you about this. Is it like a lockback? I mean, what is it? Is it you just like put it on the door with a?
Good question, Chief. You want to take that? You can explain it better.
Because that's a lot of money. Is this something super tech that I don't understand?
No, it's not super tech. Actually, it's a very safe thing. It's like a small little vault. It's maybe 4 inches by 5 inches. It'll hang over a door. And we require all new businesses to get them in the city. So right now we have one key fits everything in the city, including our residential and our business ones. If someone were to take it, I don't think they would open it short of using a torch. And I think a torch would destroy the key. That's why we use them, because they're very safe. And we've been using them for probably 15, 18 years now. So we have quite a few of them.
They're not installed. They just kind of hang there.
Well, in some houses and businesses, they're installed within 3 to 4 feet of the front door, about 60 inches off the ground. In homes, we have a listing of them, but predominantly they're at the point of entry. So when our guys show up, when the safety forces show up, usually they'll try the front door, and the next thing they'll do is try the side door. And one of those places they know to look for a Knox box. But usually, almost every time, our dispatchers, when they notify us, the identifier comes up on our CAD screen that shows that there's a Knox box on that site, residential or commercial.
Okay. And these cost $200 a piece, is what you're saying?
I believe about $196.
Okay.
So that's why I factored in, 20, but again, we don't want them to get on a wait list. But I didn't want to go over and ask for an outlandish amount of money. I just figured 5,000, a nice program we can offer to the city, because in North Olmsted, they only have 50 people registered, but they're happy that they at least offer the program that's kind of a personal touch like we'd be doing as well.
It's a great idea.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of all I'm asking. So it's up to you guys. You're cool. And then the next step is me and Thompson would get it into gear to start. It would obviously take a minute to get everything buttoned up, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Matt, you're on mute. Matt, you're on mute.
I'm just trying to picture the flow of this program. So the call comes in, or the call is made by the state of Ohio from one of their computers. And if the person doesn't answer, it's then an automatic call to the next of kin that's listed in the database.
But there's 2 calls. So they'll call 2 times. So they'll call like 20 minutes later, I believe. Ed?
I think it's 3 times.
Okay, 3 times. And so they call every 20 minutes if it doesn't answer. Then after the 3rd call, and then it's next of kin and then the police department.
So both the next of kin and the police get that call. Who then from the police department would be taking that? I mean, would it just be one of our regular dispatchers, or would there be someone specific within the police department that would be receiving that call?
It would be the dispatchers.
Okay, and then they would then send someone down to that house for a welfare check.
Yeah, correct. And I asked, and I went with North Olmsted, but and each city's different, but how many welfare checks that they do. And they said like 10 a year welfare check. So it wasn't overwhelming to the police department, because I didn't want to do that, also.
Now, the next question that I have is, obviously with a very large senior population like we have, there's individuals that will be moving out of their house for various reasons, maybe into a nursing home or they pass away, what have you. How difficult would that be for us to, how would we be able to update it so all of a sudden our police aren't getting called, every single day because someone's no longer living at that house?
Great question. So these are things that, like I said, will be buttoned up and figured out. But also on the form, it states all that information, to let us know, like if they're going on vacation or if they're changing phone numbers and things like that. So yes, I guess at some point we would have to rely on them to change the information. But it says it several times on the form. If you're not going to be available or you're changing your phone number or address, that is one of the very important things. But no, I get it.
And I understand that, Joe. Part of me is just thinking, okay, if a couple is having medical issues, they've got to move out of the house. Sometimes it's small things like that that aren't even remembered or taken into account.
Right.
So,
no, I get it.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to kind of maybe see what those communities are doing, or how if it's easy to update or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that.
Well, that could only happen once, though. I mean, if we go down there and they move, we can just take them off the list and remove the knockbox. I mean, it couldn't happen more than one time.
Right.
Right.
Also remember that if they change their number or they relocate, they're probably notifying the ODA about their phone calls as well.
I'd hope so.
Right. Correct.
Especially if they go to a nursing home, they're probably saying, "Don't call. You don't need to call us anymore." Sherry.
Tell me again, what is the frequency of those calls? Is that weekly or bi-weekly?
So it's daily, and on the form, yeah, they call every day, and the senior chooses the time. So yeah, they choose what the best time that they know they're going to be home, 8 o'clock, 8:30, whatever. Each senior could choose that individual time, and then if they fail to answer, a call 20 minutes from that time. But yeah, it's a daily checkup. And you know what? Since I've been doing all this research, there's so many scenarios that it would have helped on a lot of things that I've heard. It's good, but yeah, it's an everyday occurrence.
Tim, wasn't the senior center doing something on a smaller scale, checking on some of their regulars?
Yeah, I believe Jerry was making calls to people on kind of doing it on her own. I don't know if it was as consistent, same time every day, but I believe she was trying to do something like that. This would just be a larger scale, obviously.
Yeah, Jerry had a list that she would call. She would make mention that.
Let Tim talk.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, the mayor had asked Jerry to put together this kind of task force for seniors. She's got about 8 volunteers. We started it in December. We're about 8 of her volunteers. They've taken about 10 to 15 names of seniors from the center, and they call them once a week just to kind of check up on them. And, it's been pretty successful as far as, just reaching out to people. These seniors have definitely been isolated for a while, and it's just nice to be able to hear from somebody. So it's been beneficial for what we've been doing.
Yeah, I feel the timing with COVID that it kind of all seems right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Tom.
Always have Ray when he does the point of sale inspection. If it's a senior and there's a knockbox there, if it's our knockbox, he can take it. He could have it removed, right? I mean, when they sell the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 questions I have with the Knox box is the facts. Who's going to install it and who is going to remove it? Obviously, it would have to be done by the city employee.
I believe the fire department.
Councilman Bogo, the fire department does it on a regular basis. One of our guys in fire prevention does that.
Okay, that's what all I'm worried about.
Well, I have no objection to putting $5,000 worth, just estimating $5,000 worth of the program. I'm not sure we'll use it all, which is fine, but any plans of like promoting it through like the connection or the April connection version or something like that? So it gives you a couple times to show everything up before you advertise it or promote it.
Yeah, I believe marketing will be good, especially social media, Wickliffe Forever. I mean, there's social media outlets plus Wickliffe Connection, word of mouth, senior center, things like that. I don't know how active, but people are calling it senior center, but I believe we can market it pretty good.
Okay. Does anybody have any other comments or questions on it? Does anybody have any objection to allotting $5,000 to this program?
No.
No.
Thank you, guys. Seriously.
If there's any objections, then the committee will recommend that we allot $5,000 to this under the budget.
And thank you to the chiefs for helping me out on my research and taking my phone calls. I know it means a lot.
Ed?
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
I think the mayor alluded to the fact that on his neighbor protection program, he wasn't planning on using the 25,000 for that. And I think he alluded that he would use some of that money for Joe's program.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Because again, as Joe said, it's sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So that'll come out of the Neighbors Helping Neighbors program.
Yeah, because it's just like Joe said, any
Okay.
of these any new programs that take a while to get off the ground. So we'll have money to go around, and they complement each other as well. So it's good.
I agree.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Makes sense. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me know, reminding me. Okay, so we'll end that meeting at 7:36 or 7:35, and we'll start the Finance Committee at 7:36 to call the order of the Finance Committee, discuss 2021 budget and the review of RFPs. 2021 budget. I did not have a chance to look at any emails today, Mayor. I think you sent something, and Ms. Doles, you did too. Would anyone like to discuss?
Correct. And mine's real quick. I had just, in my email 2 weeks ago, I had mentioned the storefront renovation program, and we didn't discuss it at the meeting. I thought there was something in the budget, but confirmed today there wasn't. So just wanted to at least make that point if council's on board. I know if we do the RFPs, they might, and we do the strategic planning, which I think we should do as well. I mean, they might tell us yay, they might tell us nay, but I know other cities have done it. It's been successful. And I think we should give it another go.
Can you remind me what a dollar amount you wanted to allot to that?
I'd say 50,000.
Ray, correct me if I'm wrong. We used to do the CDGB grants, correct? Or TDBG? I'm getting it wrong. BG. We used to put what, like 30,000 a year into the line item into the budget every single year for that. Does that sound right? Ray, you're on mute.
Well, that's how much we received while he's getting ready there. That's how much we received from the community development block grant. But even the 1 year, it was in regards to people's furnaces and roofs. So it's fairly limited as well. This would be specific to, it's something they tried years ago when the economic developer was non-existent. And it was for signage, the storefront facade, landscaping, maybe, you know, things like that are going to clean the place up a bit. So it wouldn't, I mean, we're always looking for grants. That's one of those things that'll never stop, but.
I agree with that. We did do that storefront, and I'm not sure a lot of people took advantage of it when we put money in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry or Matt, do you remember that? Like,
no, and you're correct. They didn't take advantage of it.
I don't think anybody did, Ed.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
I don't think anybody did.
There was one grant. There was one grant. Gabriel Brothers Shopping Center did that big facade in the front and put a new facade on it, and that was the only takers of it.
And I've also got to say too, I mean, one, we had an economic development manager that was never in the city, who was non-existent. There's a lot more, I think, turnover at this point with folks like, just like the gentleman we heard from earlier, folks that are buying old dilapidated buildings that really need some help and are putting money into it. Then also the folks like, I mean, Wickliffe Ignition, Petty's Pizza, that have been there forever, that are keeping up on their properties while properties around it are lacking. So, I mean, regardless of who took advantage of it last time, I think we should try it again.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm just wondering if 50,000 is a little excessive, or is that the right amount? That's all I'm kind of trying to.
Oh yeah, but if we don't use it, we don't use it. I'd hate to sell ourselves short.
Okay, Maria, go ahead.
Okay, so 50,000. What exactly does that entail? I mean, match it?
Well, again, I sent out some information on this 2 weeks ago with all the details. I mean, something of the sort where it's, let's just say it's $2,500 a business, and it's for landscaping, signage, new windows, painting, curb appeal.
I know, I understand what we're trying to accomplish, but is it all
50-50
like,
match?
is it all in stone how it works? I mean, do they match the exact dollar amount, or do we just grant a certain amount of money to them with no strings attached? Or
no, it'd be forgivable after a certain amount of time. Again, if I can't remember, again, I sent this information out weeks ago. I don't have it in front of me again. It was tiered, let's say, for example, almost like vesting. Well, I don't know what's so amusing. I mean, I send out information to be reviewed several times before the meetings.
You can't even remember it. How do you expect me to remember every detail?
Well, it was a tiered sort where it was, if they have to stay for, let's say, 3 to 5 years to not have to pay any money back.
Okay, so we just grant them the money to improve the property. Okay, I got it.
If they're going to stay for long enough. I mean, if they're not to sell the property after 1 year, so people who they're not flipping the properties. I mean, again, people who have been here 30, 40 years are also people like, for Micah Plumbing, who bought a dilapidated building that's been empty for 10 years. So situations like that, not, the example I used was not the car wash that's been sitting there for the current property owner to fix up his property, someone who's actively investing in the community. And there'd be some sort of tiered drop off where, hey, if you've been there 3 years, 5 years, whatever we decide, then it would be 100% forgiven. But if you sell it before then, you have to pay us, 20% back, 40%, 60%, something of that sort.
Okay.
Monica, you want something?
Yes, actually, I've been looking at storefront renovation type programs as well, and though it's slightly different than some of the cities that have these programs, might be slightly different than what John's explaining. I had a lengthy conversation with Shaker Heights on Friday afternoon. And so there's different ways to approach that. Regarding the CDBG funds, the Community Development Block Grant funds, part of the challenge with those funds is that it's a federal dollars, and and they have to be under the Davis-Bacon prevailing wage program. And because of that, sometimes the benefits of the grant do not outweigh the cost of the grant, so to speak, of the record keeping, the matching, etc. And sometimes that's why those programs don't necessarily work, or that you have to have a program, a project identified before you get the funds, before now that the county gives the funds. So when I talked to Shaker Heights, they have a program already set up. I've also met with the city of Sandusky. My gosh, about 2 years ago, we talked about economic development grant type programs, and some of these are reimbursement programs. So they might have science specific programs. They have storefront renovation programs. They have basically reimbursement programs similar to what we worked on through the CARES Act type grant. Shaker Heights sets aside $50,000 a year for their program. She also informed me they used to use CDBG. They do not do it anymore because it was not it was more work than it was benefit to it. She also sent me pictures and outlines of their program. She informed me that they utilize a design professional to help put the projects together, so that basically the benefit of the design professional is that you create kind of a vision across the entire city. Secondly, you get a quality standard when you're developing the signs. So conforming to what the person wants, conforming to the zoning code, and then working on a city vision. So in the Shaker Heights, they set up aside $25,000 for up to $25,000 for the design, and up to $50,000 per year for that. Not saying that the city needs to do that. It's just an example of what is done in other cities. And so I've been gathering information and putting that together, just getting information on that. And I apologize, I didn't realize about the other stance, but those are some things that are done in the, John's not far off from what Shaker Heights does. Shaker Heights does $3,000 per sign, and up to $15,000, it's 50-50 match reimbursement program. So basically they spend the money, the city reimburses them. So there's different programs out there that the city could certainly mirror, and having the money, kind of set aside in developing the program. However, the city feels it's best to move forward with that. That's up to you. I'm just saying that there are examples in cities that already do it, and are ways that we could certainly take advantage of what other people already do as we put together a program. So I appreciate you allowing me to speak to that.
Anything else, Mayor or Ms. Doles?
Ed, I guess I do have a question then.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So are we going to be looking at specific legislation to enact for this storefront program, or is it something that the administration is going to be doing by itself, just pending council putting money in the budget, or how is this going to work?
Yeah, Councilman, we already have a line that was not used for the past several years. So if it's just added to the budget, we'll work up a new application and administer it that way.
And then I guess, John, for either you or Monica, you guys talk about a certain time frame. How do you guys plan to go after companies that if they move after a year or two, how do you plan to go back after them?
Well, and again, there's not going to be a whole lot of folks taking advantage of this. So we work with Debbie to create some kind of list. I'm not sure what reports are triggered when businesses sell or new tax filing, but yeah, we'll have some kind of process in place for that. At least an annual review, just or at least an annual check to make sure they still own the property.
Thank you. Yeah, that's, if we're gonna do something, as long as there's some kind of clawback to where we can protect ourselves and taxpayer funds.
Yep. No, it's definitely not, again, definitely not for the person who's neglected their property, gonna just try to take money and flip it. Definitely not.
Would it be easier for them to pay up front and then we reimburse them the money on a tiered yearly annual basis? They're
Maybe, but again, that's part of the issue too. Some of these small businesses, they don't have the capital to do that. That's the point of doing these things.
They may spend it
you
if they know they're going to get their money. They may spend it, they may get their money back, knowing that in 2 or 3 years they'll get all their money back. So, I mean, that's just
possibly, yeah.
I would venture to say that'd be the better option. I'd rather reimburse people for doing the work than actually pay them up front and not know if they're going to stay or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we'll see. We'll tell you what we'll do though. Once we have a application per se or a process, we'll run it past you guys and let you know.
Okay.
But I mean, again, there's going to be safeguards in place to make sure we don't get, taken advantage of.
Maria.
Right. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I think you make a good point, John. Small businesses, the reason small businesses don't take advantage of stuff like this is because they don't have the capital to dump out there right away. So they'll just as soon just sit back and, but if they have the funds that they can utilize, then I think we'd get much bigger uptake on this. And I understand your point, Ed, but again, we're not going to be giving them millions of dollars. I mean, if this is a $50,000 cap for everybody, I'm anxious to see like the nuts and bolts about the specifics about who's, what the total, for any particular business would be and, what the rules of the game are going to be. But I think, making it available without a lot of strings attached to a small business would be a huge benefit. And I think we'd see, a lot more improvement on the avenue if we made it easier for them.
Yeah, I don't want to attach strings. I think that if we made a rebate kind of program, it might work as well too. I don't know. That discussion needs to happen with each small business that does apply, whether we can do it one way or the other. I mean, that's a discussion that could happen. If we discuss their budgetary issues or their financial numbers, if they're willing to do that.
Small businesses.
That's the administration's call on that, how they want to run it. I just think that's the appropriate way to do it.
Okay.
I agree with you, though. I mean, in the mayor, that they don't have a ton of capital. I agree. I understand that. That's a discussion they can have with the administration. They can figure it out from there. My recommendation is a rebate program.
Is this just for Euclid Avenue, or are we talking all of Wickliffe?
I would think across the city. Again, just looking back to, I think the last time it was only for Euclid Avenue. And again, there was really no buy-in. So, and again, there's, you think of, we don't have a massive industrial area, but there's a lot of businesses on Lakeland, on Anderson, on Clayton. So yeah, I think we'd offer it to the whole city.
I completely agree, John. I think that, while we look at Euclid Avenue, I mean, Lakeland, for instance, there are other sectors that people do drive by. And if we can, I absolutely agree with that. Thank you.
Yep.
So what is the criteria going to be like? I know you said businesses that were going to be in there for a while, or are we setting a number, or are we just approving the budget and then we're going to figure out the details later?
Yeah, I would come up with the application. I mean, Monica and I would work together, get some input from other cities, what we've looked at. But yeah, you guys would just be approving the dollar amount, and then we would administer the details. So again, whether it's, hey, you've got to own your property for 3 years or 5 years, I just didn't make a final decision on that yet. If I understood your question correctly.
Well, I was just trying to get if we were going to understand the guidelines, or we were just approving the money and then that was it, that we didn't have.
Approving the money. That was my thing, but obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, for on council's part, yeah, I'm just making that was one of my budget requests. So I do not have a formal application because, again, I mean, I wasn't going to do the work if council wasn't going to approve it. So
Well, that's not the point of approving it, Mayor. It was just the guidelines of just approve it and then they'll work out the details later. I think we just were trying to get an idea what the details were and what the criteria would be to the length of the business. I know you mentioned not the car wash. It just leaves the door open for what we're going to do to who, you know, who we're going to approve and who we're not going to approve. I think council just is looking for what the guidelines were going to be. That's all.
Would you like me to state them again?
No, I read your email.
Okay, gotcha.
I read your email, John. I read all of them, Mayor. So I was okay with the program. I was just worried about the guidelines of, you know, I read your email, the longevity of the company, and I get that. I think that's a great idea. I was just looking for if we were going to set guidelines, or council was going to know, or you just basically want us to approve the money and you're going to figure out the guidelines yourself is all I was asking.
Well, yeah. Again, I'll work with Monica to have specific guidelines. So it's not going to be a case by case application. There'll be specific, you know, set guidelines.
Okay.
And if anybody would like me to, I did receive information from Shaker Heights. I have to go back through my stuff from the city of Sandusky, and if I don't have it readily available, I can get it from them. City of Sandusky did basically grant programs for new businesses coming in. Shaker Heights does, it's a reimbursement program, but they have applications already created. They have the programs already created, and I've been looking at other cities that also do this type of program. It was actually, I think, great minds thinking alike, because I was thinking about this as well as an opportunity to help our businesses and, you know, to give a little back, but not without a huge dollar amount. Even to the point of if there's, if you find that you'd like more consistency in it, reviewing like different design standards, different people have different approaches. So I'm actually investigating about 3 or 4 other cities as well that do these type of programs. And all of them have found that it's easier to manage a local program than to rely on outside funding. Not saying that we couldn't seek outside funding. Perhaps some of the foundations that are in our city would be, you know, or businesses willing to help participate into a program like this. I don't know. And, you know, it's worthwhile exploring that as well.
Anything else on this program, or you want to move on to anything else? Ms. Dole, do you have any input on any other things that you wanted to add or to the budget?
Yes, the email that I sent out earlier was requesting, on top of what the changes were before I sent out the revised one, an additional $12,225 transfer from the general fund into the Lakeland fund, with the uncertainty of when the buses will start running. We don't know when the revenue is going to start coming in, and this additional $12,000 would fully fund the portion of Tim's salary that gets paid out of that fund. Not saying that we will use that transfer in its entirety, only what is necessary if we come up with a shortfall for from the Lakeland fund, from the revenue from Lakeland, if the buses do start running. But it would just alleviate the need to come back and change the appropriations later on in case we needed that transfer. But as with any of the transfers that I asked for, the subsidy transfers, I only use what's absolutely necessary. I don't go ahead and use the entire transfer if it's not needed. And then the other thing was $5,000 to be added into the general miscellaneous line. One of the small business grant applications was missed, and the mayor would like to help this business because it was received in a timely manner. It was received before the deadline, but it got shuffled in among emails, and therefore I'm asking for a $5,000 increase in that line item so that we could make this grant. And that's what my email was about.
Sherry?
Well, as far as that $5,000 is concerned, I do believe that whoever it is should receive it, but don't we still have COVID funds? Is that what that is from? No, what is that?
Yeah, that was, the small business grants was the COVID funds, however, that we've expended that money.
Okay, all right.
Well,
Randy?
well, we expended the money, then the program should be over then, shouldn't it? I mean,
Well, again, we did not expend all of the money for the small business grant that we allocated for the small business grant. So once the deadline surpassed, we put that money back towards salaries and other items. So we did spend all the money, yes. But again, Monica brought it to my attention, I think 2 weeks ago, and we somehow missed the email. So the business submitted the application on time within the program. I don't know how we both searched our emails, several times throughout, and we missed it. So I think we should make right on it because they submitted the application in the time frame. So since the money's already moved from that line, it would have to then come from the general fund.
Okay, but Mayor, understanding what you're saying, I think that was Randy's question was going to be the same question as mine, which is, was the amount of money we had allotted for businesses used all up? You're saying it was not, and then we used whatever was left over for personnel. So in theory, we would have spent $5,000 more on personnel in 2020, and then if we had not made this mistake, or the administration did not make this mistake, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was under the impression that if all the money was allotted out of that 50,000 or whatever to that program, and I would not have approved this. But if you're saying it wasn't, then I'm okay with this. Anything else, Joe?
Yeah, so on the Lake Tran fund, so is that what happens if Lake Tran's not paying that portion of Tim? Does it falls on us? So isn't that between Lake Tran and Tim? I'm just, is it because, so if that's not running, we have to compensate for that? Isn't that kind of Lake Tran? Is he taking the hit because of COVID? Is that what's going on?
I think, Joe, it's because his salary is split between multiple different things, different line items, and this is one of them. It doesn't have to be specifically, this 12,000 could be part of the recreation director's salary, but we've thrown that amount, or whatever the amount is, maybe not 12,000, whatever the amount is that we throw under Lake Tran. She's concerned that if they don't pay us, reimburse us for it, that it would need to be going to recreation. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't just put it under, she doesn't know how much it's going to be paid out. She wants to take it out of the general fund, but it could have been just the recreation director's salary if you use it out of that, though, couldn't it?
Was this task not accomplished is what I'm saying? So he's not doing what he would be getting paid for?
I can't speak to that, but I can speak to the way that he's paid, and a certain amount of his salary is under the recreation director's line. And in this budget, there's $20,225 of his salary that is allocated in the Lake Tran fund. Now, the Lake Tran fund is a special revenue fund, and until last year, we've never had to, well, that I'm aware of, I've been here, I shouldn't say never, had to supplement that fund. But because the buses aren't running and the Lake Tran supplements hours for the bus drivers at a rate that covers, Tim, you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, covers, the gas, the wages, everything for the bus drivers, including Tim's salary. But since the buses haven't been running, there hasn't been revenue from Lake Tran going into that fund.
So I get that, but so the task isn't pretty much being, a lot of people took a hit because of this, and I'm just thinking now that we should have to compensate for it. No offense, I'm not trying to take away, I'm just trying to understand why we would have to compensate for that. That's all.
Yeah, I'm still involved in senior transportation. I'm still involved in getting food to the seniors. So there's still some responsibilities that are falling on me, as the administrator, that we're not calling in the bus drivers to come on in and make those runs. So I'm still running the senior to doctor's appointments. I'm still running the senior, to a grocery store if necessary. So.
But that would be what Lake Tran pays you for that service?
That's typically what our bus drivers would be, being compensated for. So I'm, stepping in and taking those responsibilities over.
And hey guys, just to be clear, so I don't know if when Debbie says the buses aren't running, she's meaning the larger paid for buses where, as obviously Tim alluded, we're still driving buses locally here in the city for our seniors. I just want to make sure that was clear.
I mean, the other alternative would be to take all of Tim's salary and put that in the recreation director line item and not break it up between the two funds.
Debbie, when were you informed they weren't paying this?
Well, we haven't gotten revenue from Lake Trans since April of last year. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah. Yes.
So, I mean, we had this discussion
before. Yeah.
We had this discussion last year when we had to do a subsidy transfer to fund the Lake Tran expenses.
Okay.
Out of that fund.
Any other questions or comments on that?
I just want to understand. So you're saying that Tim's salary is what is on the line item for the recreation plus what's on the line item for Lake Tran, no matter what. That's Tim's salary.
Correct.
Okay, so all you're doing is paying it. So Tim's salary is still Tim's salary. You're just paying it from a different fund. Is that what it comes out to be?
And we're not getting the revenue from Lake Tran to pay.
But that's Tim's salary. The number is the two lines.
Correct. The number is the same.
Okay, now I understand what you're doing. So it didn't matter if we're taking it from Lake Tran or not. We still owe Tim. That's Tim's salary.
Yeah, we just make the revenue from the Lake Tran that usually compensated part of his salary.
Right.
That's what I think,
Joe,
the confusion was at. That's
absolutely right. That's where, okay.
I understand.
Well, yeah, it is. If you look in the salary ordinances, it's broken into two separate things, but that is Tim's salary.
Okay, that's totally fine. It doesn't, I get it now. Thank you.
Right. And I think historically it has been paid that way. So we should continue for continuity to continue to pay part of the salary, whether we have to do a subsidy transfer from the general fund into there, just for historic sake. I mean, it comes out of the general fund one way or the other if we have to subsidize it or if we just pay it out of his director's line.
That's fine. I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Go ahead, Maria.
Because, I mean, we just really don't know what's going to be happening with Lake Tran. I mean, we don't have any idea when things are going to normalize with respect to payments from them. So why would we keep doing it this way? Why wouldn't we just simplify things and take his salary in one lump sum instead of having to do this, appropriation stuff back and forth and shuffle stuff? I don't understand. Maybe I just don't understand finance.
Well, because it's been historically paid that way and it, for continuity's sake.
But that obviously continuity is not, that's not what the future is going to be, right?
Well, we're hoping that some sense of normalcy comes back and that the bus drivers take the senior shopping and all what they do. We hope to get them back. But when that will happen, no one can tell at this point. It may be April, it may be September, it may be next year, but
Okay, any other questions or comments on those two items? The COVID application from that business and or the transfer from the Lake Tran from the general fund. Anything else anybody wanted to discuss? Joe?
Well, just in the future, like if there is another round of COVID money, we just got to make sure we don't make this mistake again. You know.
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to modify just one thing on this, knowing that we're now adding $67,000 potentially to the budget. We talked about that $40,000 payroll program being, something that is 3 to 5 years away, and you just want to get ahead of it. I'd like to just table that for 1 year and see where we're at before I go on with approving that. I know, but with 3 to 5 years to go, I think we could table it for 1 year and see where we're at. Save some.
I agree. I forgot to mention that too.
Anybody have any other input on that?
Yeah, this is John. Just my only input is any, technology and software upgrade that we delay, it only prolongs inefficiencies and more reports that have to be run and more work that has to be done. And the more manual tasks that have to be done, being humans, the more prone we are to mistakes. So being that we've still got plenty of money, we're up $900,000 in our general fund year over year. Let's spend the $40,000 for the software that the finance department needs. That'd be my 2 cents. Thank you.
Understand. I am still of the opinion that we should table it for a year. Does anybody, which way would you rather go? Table it or go ahead and spend the 40,000, Randy?
Table it.
Yeah, I would table it just because 3 to 5 years we can look at it. I mean, if it was 1 to 2, then it'd be a different story. But yeah, table it.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Any other items that somebody wanted to talk about or discuss from the updated budget?
Yeah, and I guess I just have one question for the chiefs, and perhaps Chief Powers is the one that I should be asking this question to. You had sent us an email, I think it was, or maybe it was during a council meeting, you had brought this subject up, but it's potentially involving COVID vaccines. Does your guys's, you had mentioned, I think it was in an email, that there would be a greater need for overtime potentially should this happen. Is this in your guys's overtime at this point in time, or are we just going to hold off and say, okay, we'll deal with that once we, come to that crossing?
Well, Councilman, thank you for remembering that. Right now, we're just going to hold on that. No, we did not put in any extra money for vaccinating. I have to tell you that we have a vaccination clinic coming up here soon, and both the police and service department will be helping us supplement that too. And everyone's just going to intend to take it out of their general operating budget, and hopefully we'll get reimbursement sometime in the near future from FEMA. But as the year draws to an end, that's going to impact me certainly, and I'm sure the other departments when we get into October, November, and December, if we don't have that overtime back paid or returned to us from FEMA.
Is every single city doing this in Lake County, or for some reason we are special in doing it on the county's behalf?
No, everybody's contributing to it. We're doing one because we have the facilities to do it, as well as 2 others. But eventually that's going to break down, and I foresee everyone open up their senior centers and doing some vaccinations internally within their facilities. There's a long way to go with this, and honestly, it keeps changing so much every day. All I can do is speculate right now on how things are going. We really don't have the system in place to do the vaccinating that we need to right now. Hopefully that'll get better as time goes on.
Okay, I was talking to my aunt who's in Florida, and she was saying that there's so many issues down there. They've got drive-ins that take forever, miles and miles of lines long, and there's walk-ins where people can get in and out much quicker than driving. So it's glad that this is still being looked at so we can figure out a way to most efficiently do this, since we are going to be doing it then.
Right, we're very efficient at doing it. We can do approximately three people a minute right now, and that's not putting in any extra help. We've already done 1 pod in the county, and I think we're well prepared for it. Just a matter of getting the vaccine.
Do you foresee any kind of monies coming from the county or from the health department that would eventually pay us back for this time, or is it just we have to just eat it?
No, I definitely don't think we're going to just eat it. Right now, the county as a partner is going to ask as a fiscal agent for us, and all municipalities are feeding their cost into the county. The county will work as a fiscal agent and try to get reimbursement through FEMA. As you know, the president has a COVID relief fund, second wave coming through, and a lot of that deals with vaccinating. I think if we get any money as a city going forward, it's not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to purchase things. I think it's going to be strictly for vaccinating, and that should give us the relief we need.
Okay.
But, you know, when you're dealing with the federal government, Councilman, I want to make it sure that you understand there's no guarantees, and sometimes they're pretty slow to respond.
I completely concur, Chief. We've dealt with that enough already over the years.
Right.
Anyone else on the committee have anything else they wanted to talk about the annual budget? Okay, does anybody have any objections to recommending that we send the budget or approving the budget to the council with the addition of the $50,000 storefront renovation grant, transfer of $12,225 to Lake Tran Fund from the general fund, adding $5,000 to the general miscellaneous fund for the COVID application that was missed, and then removing the $40,000 payroll upgrade? Any objections to recommending that be approved by the council? Seeing none, then we'll move on. We'll close that out and move on to the review of RFPs. Monica, do you want to start us off with that?
Okay, I got myself unmuted. So I sent out today just a reminder of what was requested when we put out for the RFP back in August. What was being asked was assessment of the local economy, a SWOT analysis, strategic framework, action plan, public engagement, and project communication. And the focus of the action plan was outlined for redevelopment strategies. Which is including taking a look at the zoning, basic business attraction, brand utilization strategy, and identify funding opportunities. So we received 4 applications. The top 2 were $45,000 a piece for the base, the baseline, which was just predominantly along Euclid Avenue, and then it went up from there to take a look at the larger area. So I think some of the opportunities are some areas we have a good handle on, such as programs such as a community reinvestment area, utilizing tax incremental financing, potentially income tax rebates. And as we're discussing right now, putting together a storefront renovation sign program. So those are various things that different communities use. There's not a lot of other type of funding that are used in other communities. It's just sometimes layering those type of programs that best support the community and the project in which the community is trying to attract. So with that, I know there's been conversations. I think one of the main focuses is taking a look at our zoning. We have not had our zoning revised since, I'm thinking it's 2006 or 8. We utilize what's called a Euclidean type of zoning. And there's another type which is called form-based. So having a real look at the two types of zoning, seeing if Euclidean is in the best need, is form-based, is a hybrid between the two forms, and having somebody, I think, in a specialized area with that, which I know that we've had, have had the different proposals have had people that specialize in that type of focus area, including in that. There's also, I'm sure will come about taking a look at the fact that we have a referendum zoning in the city, taking a look at, though I think you guys have a very solid base in the different layers of zoning, from commercial, industrial, commercial, manufacturing, industrial. So there might be some tweaking of those areas that might be recommended, I'm sure. So those type of things I think would be, specifically with the zoning, would be, the city would really benefit from somebody that is an expert in that area, you know, that really works extensively in that area. So we talked, Maria had, we talked last week about taking a look at, do we move forward with certain things? How do we approach this? So I didn't know, Maria, did you want to speak to anything, your thoughts?
I would.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monica. So, you know, we really do need to do something focused, and I think we're on the right track. We do need to get professional help, and the RFPs were great. When Monica and I really stepped back and took a look, though, at what the responses that we got from, or the 4 RFP responses that we did get, you know, if you really sit back and think about this, and we've been talking with some other cities too. I know Monica's been talking, and I've been talking with sort of an expert in the Cleveland redevelopment areas, you know, the shoreline and, you know, Hingetown, all those, like, you know, up and coming younger people areas, but then also Lakewood, looking at some of the other suburbs like Fairview, and suburbs like what Maple Heights has been able to do recently, and what, you know, other near city suburbs have been able to do. It just opens up a huge potential for us. And when you really think about it, we are in a really important spot right now. I mean, I think we've got to be very careful what we do, because we're just sort of the perfect storm situation for Wickliffe right now. I mean, we've got new schools coming. We certainly, you know, have everything we need with respect to location. We have everything we need, you know, with respect to housing that is affordable, but we need to think about the housing piece is the most important. And that's what, at least as I've been talking to other communities, what I'm finding is the first place to start. It really has to be housing first. And then, you know, having the right housing and the right, you know, people attracted to that housing, then again, brings businesses in to want to open their business, because then you actually have people to purchase the goods that these businesses are going to bring. So when we're thinking about Euclid Avenue, we need to stop thinking Euclid Avenue first. We need to start thinking about, you know, what do we need to do to open up our housing market and sort of upgrade our housing market so that we bring in people, new people and new families, et cetera. So I know it's a vicious circle, and any way you look at it, it's very confusing, which brings us back to, we really do need to hire somebody that can help us sort through all of that. With the RFPs, you know, $50,000 or $40,000 or whatever, $45,000 is nothing compared to what we're going to need these people to help us sort through, but it's the place to start. And we did have 2 top RFPs. One of them was my favorite, and it was mainly because they have done a tremendous job in cities sort of our size. And I think, you know, OHM did a tremendous job. Then we had some concern about, a judgment that had come against them. And we just immediately just sort of disregarded them. And I have had a chance to dig into that a little more closely. And, I think we may be, sort of taking a misstep, just sort of walking away from them and not listening to them, what they would want to try to bring to the table. And then the other, top, what is the other name? I can't remember because I also have COVID, guys, so I'm not feeling my best. So what's the other? Monica, I can't hear you because you're.
Sorry. MS Consulting, and they had subcontractors. Actually, both OHM and MS had subcontractor with Ice Miller. And then MS
They both do the same zoning, same guy.
No, actually Ice Miller, I believe, was the financial piece, but Calfee zoning was with MS Consulting was bringing in Calfee zoning, who I've heard speak on zoning issues. And
so this is where I'm thinking we need to consider. I hesitate just picking somebody and just going with it. I think we need to hear what our top two people have to say. And I think we should bring them in, not for a long period of time, but, bring them in to do just a quick presentation about, what exactly they consider, where would they start? What would their overall plan be? What's the most important thing? After they look at our city, where would they start? And I think they could give us, just a general overview of where they would start and maybe what they've done elsewhere to sort of show that before we invest in one or the other. And then if we're happy with what we see, then, maybe we do make a choice and take one of them and just go forward. But if we're not that impressed, maybe we try to look at this a little further and find somebody who, find maybe another consulting firm that would actually, be able to move forward quickly. Because I know I talked with the mayor of Reminderville, believe it or not, today. He actually uses OHM, and that whole lawsuit was really because of what happened there. And that was just and I won't get into the details of that. Maybe, sometime at another meeting we can, or we can let them address it. But that really, as I suspected, really wasn't what it looked like when it came to what the news feed said. But he had some really interesting things to say about what really needs to be done first to kind of jumpstart a shift in both housing and economic development. So I think we need to talk a little more around on our own before we just jump into one of these, just with an RSP on paper. I don't know if anybody agrees with that, if we would be willing to give these two guys, time to present. But if you guys, I'll just throw it out to you guys.
Sherry?
I have to say, I appreciate the optimism in trying to find someone to look at the city, but I have problems with spending that kind of money when we're going to continue having the same problems in the same spots, and it doesn't matter who tells us what should be where. If the owner of the Ponderosa property is never going to sell it, it doesn't matter what they tell us is going to go there. If the owners of the McDonald's aren't going to let a restaurant go in there, it doesn't matter if they tell us a restaurant can go in there. If the owners of the Fifth Third Bank aren't going to allow someone to move in there, it doesn't matter. If the electronics place is, it doesn't matter what they tell us is going to be there. If it's not marketed, I think it's more of a, that building should probably
our zoning has prevented businesses from moving into some of those places that you're mentioning. So it's not just that these places won't sell. I've forwarded all of council specific examples of how our inflexible zoning and the need for this planning has prevented businesses going in the past several months.
Well, then
several times.
We understand what you're saying there, and we know you have, and we understand your frustration.
Well, then don't make contradicting statements.
Well, even if we do that, we still have to wait till 2022 before we could even see that, because it has to go to the voters to change it in the charter change. So that would have to be in November. So according to what, I think that's what Sherry's point is that until we change the zoning in 2022, should we be jumping into this in 2021?
And that's my point, is do we want to spend the kind of money, like, this lump sum on, just a couple guys that we just sort of threw an RFP out, not really knowing what we were looking for? I mean, and Monica, you're still,
We knew what we were looking for. We set specific
Right.
Well, hold on.
guidelines for this.
Hey, John, can you let her
1% of our
finish? John,
assets to reinvest.
John, can you let her finish her statement first, please?
I didn't mean it just like that. I just mean, you're right. I mean, we don't have zoning fixed yet. We don't have, certain things in place yet. And we have some of our biggest opportunities are blocked, like the Vittontonio property. There's just some things that we probably as a city should try to address specifically. And I know we have, but, there are like other venues out there that, maybe we need to try to make some deals with respect to, bringing somebody that can help us.
We've changed legislation for the housing, transferring titles. We've refixed our zoning, not the zoning, the tax abatements. I mean, you yourself, Maria, you've been clamoring for a plan for 3 years, and now here you are wasting our time saying we should wait even longer and put off making decisions. It's so frustrating. I'm sorry I keep interrupting folks, but this is just so unbelievably frustrating. The amount of time we've wasted and continue to waste on this. I'm just going to drop off so you guys can finish your conversation. Good night, and we'll see you next time.
Good thing that you got to say what you wanted to say, and then you get to leave, like drop the mic. You are so professional. Anyway, I think I agree with you, Sherry. I think we need to, I think we should listen to these two guys. I think we should let them,
I'm willing to listen, but I don't know if I'm willing.
and maybe it could help us clear up exactly what needs to be done first, okay? I've also been working with Ted Theophylakitos and Ted and Company. He's doing all that downtown stuff. He's got amazing knowledge with respect to grants, and he knows, who wants to come to Wickliffe to develop. And he's got some properties for us to look at to see what has been done in these type of suburbs. And he has the connections already. He knows who to talk to. He's going to go ahead and talk to the developers and bring them in. And maybe we try to really look at the Vittontonio property and a couple other properties and make something happen there. But that doesn't mean that we don't need some kind of a plan. And, let's talk to these two firms. Let's hear what they have to say. I'm not saying put this off for another 6 months. I'm saying put this off till the next meeting. And let's listen to what they have to say. And let's get a clearer head about how and if we're going to spend that $45,000.
Is Ted in one of those two groups or no? Or he's a third?
You want to put on a third? That's fine.
No, that's not what she's asking. He's independent. We had a conversation. He works with different developers I'm well aware of. I've talked to different developers, some of the people that he does work with. So there's challenges, there's opportunities, as with everything. The Vittontonio property, the environmental issue will not go away, just FYI. We're not going to get grants for that Vittontonio property, just to be clear on that, because the EPA has identified a responsible party that is not responsible. They live in Arizona. The EPA has stated to me they will not pursue it. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm sorry. That's the blatant truth. I'm just giving you the blatant truth.
We need to find somebody who's going to clean it up, and then
right. It is something that
overwhelming.
Yeah. So just so you guys are aware of the real, a clear picture, the Vittontonio property has identified responsible party who is not Mr. Vittontonio. The EPA, because they have identified it, no, we are not able to receive grants to assist with that. Just so council is aware. And that's how it works out there. Unfortunately, because they identified somebody as responsible, it takes us out of a running for a grant. I'm sorry to say. So
but Monica, you can't just say, okay, well then we'll just sit here then. Okay, well.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just letting you know that for that property, there's no grants available. But it doesn't mean that nobody will develop it. Right. I'm just you
find
know,
that.
it,
We need to stop
yes.
talking about how we can't do it, and we need to find the guy who's gonna do it. That's what we need to do. So that's where I'm at right now. I think we just need to, yes, maybe this firm can help us do that. That's what the firms are supposed to be doing. They're supposed to help us, they're supposed to be able to make these connections. Like, they're supposed to be able to attract, developers. They're supposed to be able to attract, to look at our demographics and help us make the right decisions about, where to focus. Yes, that's what these guys are supposed to do. So let's hear what these two have to say. And if they, have the ability to, they really knock our socks off with some great ideas, then, hey, I think we do it. And if not, that doesn't mean that we're just going to sit back. And if we don't like the two of them, just say, well, John, let's just put it off for a few more years. No, there's a lot of things we can be doing, and we need to find another way to get things moving. But at the same time, I just, right now, I think it would just be to just vote right now, like, okay, yeah, let's just pick one of them. I mean, is that what you guys want to do? Because I'm okay with that if you do. I think we need to look a little more closely at at least the two companies, and have them give us something like of some substance. We didn't even have them present. I mean, we just,
So Maria, to answer Sherry's question really quick, was I would not throw him back in. He didn't put an RFP in. Unfortunately, I would stick with the companies that have done the RFPs.
No, he says he's not interested in doing that. No, he's
right. So yeah, I would just think that those are the two you're talking about are the two we should discuss if we're going to go forward.
Yeah, Ted is not. I mean, he was just trying to help us think outside the box and realize that there's so much opportunity that maybe we're just not seeing right now. And he said, I mean, he's a Wickliffe guy. I mean, he grew up here. He wants Wickliffe to be wonderful. He's very successful everywhere else. And he said it breaks his heart to see that we are not able to do that here, and he wants to help. But that's, that's not, so it's not an RFP. It's just, somebody who has some people to bring in.
Debbie, you want to say something? I'm sorry, Maria.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This $45,000 is not, just wanted to let you guys know it's not in the budget. Should I put it in the budget? Okay.
As of right now, Maria's recommendation is not to put in the budget and have a further discussion on it. So I would not. I don't know if anybody else. I think Randy has something to say, but as of right now, I would say no. But Randy,
a few meetings ago, we were talking about there might be a grant to pay for this. Are we still looking in for the grant to pay for this?
So I thought I apologize. Time goes so fast. I thought I reported on Monday at the council meeting that I heard back from the Cleveland Foundation that we did not fit into the criteria that they were looking for, so we did not get the request that we made. I thought I reported that on Monday, but
well, you were cutting in and out on Monday.
You know what? That's right. I was. I apologize. I don't know what was up with the connection that day. Yes. So we did not get that grant. So it would be the responsibility. And I always think it's wise to talk to people. I know when I ran the airports, I would interview the various consulting firms when we would go out for RFQs. I always think it's a good idea to talk to people. It might be potentially better to even go smaller and take a look at solely one specific aspect of the whole piece. And that's why I sent the outline to everybody to take a look at the outline and say, is this really fully is this what we need, or do we need a piece of this, what we out put in the outline at maybe a lower value. And so anyways, that's why I sent that out. So you would have something to take a look at. It has been a while. That was put together last August, or actually July. So it's been quite some time since that was put together. So take a look at it, see if it's, do the city feel it's something at the full extent you need? Is there maybe a piece of that you need? Needs change, time changes. What was required last July might not be required today. So
Ed, let me ask this: if we do bring these two firms in, I'm talking like in the next couple of weeks, and we then make a decision that, yeah, let's just move forward with one of them. How do we get the money into the budget? I mean,
we can always add it, and I legislation we can add it.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if it would be easier to do it now or not, but I think,
I think we should make a decision of if we're gonna pick one or not before we budgeted the money for it or not. You know, if we decide not to, then there's no point. I think we can always do it later on. I mean, we may not make a decision in 2 weeks. What if neither one can make the meeting in 2 weeks and they want to postpone it until March? Who knows? We might be on the second or third reading of the budget by then. So we can always add it later. Randy?
Isn't this in the Euclid Avenue Committee now? Revitalization Committee?
No, it was moved out. They recommended, I believe, MS Consulting. Was that the one that we recommended?
I thought it went back into committee, which Maria's on. I know I on it with her. I thought we could, you know, sit and talk about that. I thought it was in committee.
yeah.
I don't know if it was moved back in the committee. I thought we had already made the recommendation, so it had to go to the finance committee. I thought Councilman Jaworski did that at one meeting.
Well, that was just because we decided that because there was, you know, a judgment against them that we were taking them out, and we decided, so we'll just go with MS. That's what I don't want us to do, because when I really looked at the proposals again, I'm not impressed with MS. I mean, so I think we need to really look at, that's why I want them both to come and talk. I want them to tell us, you know, I wanted them to give us some more specifics about, you know, I mean, believe me, that's what they do. So if they've got some good ideas, it would be great to hear them before we make a decision.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say and comments? If not, we'll wait. You know, I guess, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I think we should hear these groups. Number one, it's always good to listen to what other people are doing, what their ideas, it puts ideas into our minds. Number two, our biggest problem is we can't move forward on anything because of our legislation part. We can't change nothing because we don't have that opportunity, and that's what's hindering us. And it's frustrating with everybody. But yeah, we need to hear this out. And if we feel this is an opportunity, and once again, we can move that back in into the budget and get the ball rolling. But yeah.
Okay, all right.
So
where would we have them present? At a committee meeting, at a council meeting?
It would stay, I still have to stay in this committee, so it would have to be in a finance committee 2 weeks from now, but let's see what if Monica can contact them to see when they could schedule and do that. Just 10 to 15-minute presentation at most.
Yeah, I spoke with OHM today, and they can come anytime. They're very anxious to talk with us.
Okay,
and,
so we'll
MS,
temporarily.
to MS.
Would you prefer like a Monday, 2 weeks, or how would you like to approach
Yeah, like
this?
2 weeks, like the 15th.
Okay, I'll see if I can get that arranged. If not, I'll see what dates
just
they
let me
might
know.
be available, and I'll shoot you guys an email and we can figure it out from there.
Yeah, if we know by the 8th, I'll call for that committee meeting at the council meeting for the finance committee to meet on that. That's fine. We get both of them to come in for a 10 to 15-minute presentation. Maria, do you have specific questions that you may want to set out a template? Everybody can maybe use it as a template and then figure out some other questions based on that. I don't know if what kind of questions or conversations you've had with them.
Yeah.
Monica too, is if you have like a handful of questions that you think would be good, would help spark more questions or ideas from the rest of the council committee.
Okay, why don't I put together a few of those and I'll send it out, and you guys
Sounds great.
take a look at them and see if you want to add or delete or ask anything else. Yes, Joe?
Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
So wait, OHM's one of them and MS?
Yeah, those are the two.
And, you know, the referendum zoning, though, is probably the most important thing. I mean, we're hearing people out, that's awesome, but nothing until that gets, you know, any plan that someone's going to want to do is going to want to wait for see how that turns out.
I don't necessarily agree. I don't. I think the plan is separate from, you know, I think, you know, they'll be able certainly to lay out a plan of what they think may work in the city, or what we should do with certain parcels of land, or, you know, what we should think about doing and what we should think about zoning, or we should, you know, think about changing zoning. And then we have to do.
But that's what I mean. So, okay. Yeah. But so it is OHM and MS are going to be the two.
I would like to bring those two in. If anybody has objections to that, you know.
Well, I thought we talked about the OHM and but that's just my personal opinion with that, but
let's hear them out and see if they maybe
Okay.
they have your questions, Joe, about what you heard. You know what I'm saying? Maybe let's see what the answer is.
We should work on the referendum.
Easy question for them to answer.
Get that
I'm
resolved.
sorry. Go ahead, Randy.
I said we should plan on working on that referendum zoning, no matter if they say that or not. We should get that taken care of one way or the other.
We will put on the ballot. It has to be read 3 times in legislation. But I was planning on doing that. It has to be done by the end of June to be on the November ballot. We can put it out there, but like Maria is stating, I think that if we are against, or we think the referendum zoning should be pulled, then maybe showing them the plan of what this company does or has a plan shows people why we don't need referendum zoning anymore. I think that's what Maria was trying to get at. So understanding, Joe, I do agree referendum zoning is a big key, but maybe having that plan in place before the voting by the residents could deter or turn them one way or another.
I mean, show them what we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Correct. Like this is why we don't need referendum zoning. Here's what we're thinking, if of changing the zoning here, and the residents can let us know before they vote what they like or what they don't like about it. So yeah. Any other questions or comments? And we'll just table this, leave it in committee, and see if we can have a meeting in 2 weeks about it. Okay. See no objections to leaving it in the committee. We'll end this meeting at 8:43.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Hope you feel better, Maria.
It sucks.
Oh, you poor thing.
I cannot even believe this.